He just wanted to learn how planes worked. Elijah Brooks, 16 years old, sitting in a pilot's lounge waiting for his mentor when a senior white pilot walks in and calls security. No warning, no questions, just a voice on a radio calling him a threat. Why? Because he was young and black. But the moment everything changed, that was when his mother walked in. The CEO of the entire airline. What happens next doesn't just shake a lounge, it shakes an entire industry. This isn't just a story about bias. It's about power, identity, and a boy who refused to be small. The sky belongs to everyone. The smell of jet fuel still lingered faintly in the air, even inside the pilot's lounge. Soft leather chairs, a low hum of distant chatter, and a TV quietly playing a weather report created a space that was meant to feel exclusive. Calm, controlled. 16-year-old Elijah Brooks sat in the corner, sandwich in hand, eyes flicking between the TV and the massive window overlooking the tarmac. His badge, visitor, authorized program guest, hung clearly around his neck. He'd been placed in the lounge by Ms. Taylor from HR, who told him to relax while she took a quick meeting. "Don't worry, Han, you're exactly where you're supposed to be," she'd smiled before heading off. But now that smile felt like a distant echo. "You need to leave. Now." The voice snapped like a whip, sudden and sharp. Elijah froze mid-bite. Across from him stood Captain Gerald Faulkner. Mid-50s, pressed uniform, silver mustache, the kind of posture that screamed command and control. Around them, a few pilots looked up from their phones or coffee mugs, eyes narrowed. Silent, but watching. Elijah stood quickly, stumbling over his words. I'm part of the shadow program," Miss Taylor from HR said. "I don't care who said what," Faulkner interrupted, eyes narrowing. "This area's for flight crew only, not for tourists, and certainly not for guests wandering around unsupervised." The weight behind the word guests was unmistakable. Elijah's breath hitched in his throat. His badge swung slightly as he held it up again. "I'm not wandering. She told me to wait here while she..." Faulkner reached for his radio without waiting. "Security. We've got a situation in the pilot's lounge. Unidentified individual, male, black, late teens, potential security risk." It felt like the air had been sucked out of the room. Elijah's stomach dropped. "Wait, what?" he whispered, his voice trembling now. "Why are you calling me a threat? I have clearance. I didn't sneak in. I didn't touch anything. But it was too late." Two security guards appeared within minutes, as if summoned by the very assumption of guilt. They flanked him, one already reaching for the ID badge around his neck. "Got ID?" the taller one snapped. Elijah's fingers fumbled, holding it up again. "It's right here. Please, ask Miss Taylor." The badge was yanked from him mid-sentence. "Could be fake," Faulkner muttered, loud enough for the room. "You know how easy it is to make these things now." Elijah's pulse thudded in his ears. "I won a contest. I wrote an essay. They picked me to shadow Horizon staff. It's legit." "Sure you did," Faulkner sneered, folding his arms. "Next you'll be saying your mom owns the airline." Elijah didn't respond. He couldn't, because she did. But he'd promised not to say that. "Go in as you," she'd said the night before. "Don't lead with your name. Lead with your passion." And he had. He'd spent the morning captivated, eyes wide as the operations director walked him through gate coordination and route optimization. This lounge had been the one quiet moment, a chance to breathe, soak it all in. Now it was suffocating. The officers began to ask him questions. Rapid fire. Demanding details. Who let you in? Why weren't you in the public area? Did you come in through the right entrance? He tried to answer, but the words fumbled. They weren't listening anyway. Across the room, no one stood. No one spoke. A few pilots glanced his way and looked back down. The silence wasn't just deafening, it was revealing. No one saw him as someone who belonged. He was a misstep in the system, a risk. A brown-skinned boy who loved airplanes more than anything, now being treated like a threat because he existed in a space not designed with him in mind. Finally, one of the guards sighed. "We'll sort it out at the office." Elijah's voice cracked. "I didn't do anything wrong. That's what they all say, Faulkner muttered smugly. As they led him away, badgeless, dignity trailing behind him like fog, Elijah glanced back one last time at the room. Nobody moved. Nobody said a word. The security office smelled like coffee and laminate. Beige walls, buzzing fluorescent lights, a desk with half-empty cups and sticky notes. Elijah sat in the far corner, arms crossed, his backpack in his lap like a shield. The badge they took from him now lay beside a coffee-stained keyboard. Stripped, doubted, discarded. He watched the older of the two guards type slowly at the terminal, while the younger one leaned back in his chair, arms folded, like this was routine. Because it was, for them. "Okay," said the older guard, sighing. "Walk me through it again, slowly." Elijah swallowed. "I'm part of the Horizon Future Flight Program. Miss Taylor, Angela Taylor from HR, she brought me in, told me to wait in the lounge while she took a call." The younger one smirked. "And she just told you to wait in the pilot's lounge? Alone?" "Yes," Elijah said, firmer this time. "She said it was fine. I wasn't touching anything. I wasn't snooping around." They looked at each other. The older one shrugged. "We'll verify it." Elijah's breath came shallow now. His fists were clenched in his lap. His throat burned from holding back the frustration, the humiliation. He thought of what his mom told him the night before. "Walk in as you, not as my son, not as a last name they'll recognize. Let them see who you are." He liked that idea. It felt noble, strong. But now, in this tiny room where he was being treated like a threat for waiting in a chair, he wasn't sure anymore. "I shouldn't have come alone," he whispered to himself. Just then, the guard's phone buzzed. He answered, nodded once, said thanks, and hung up. "Well," he said with no emotion, "Miss Taylor confirmed your story. You're in the program. You had permission." Elijah stared at him. "That's it?" "That's it," the guard said, already turning back to his computer. "No apology?" Elijah asked. The younger one laughed under his breath. "I mean," Elijah stood, hands shaking slightly, voice low but steady. "You could have just asked, instead of assuming." Neither of them looked at him. He left the room quietly, reattaching the lanyard with the broken plastic hook. His badge felt heavier now, or maybe it was just his chest. He was walking back toward the HR wing when his phone buzzed. "Mom, call me. Now." He froze. She knew. He hesitated. He didn't want her to know like this. He wanted to tell her later, when it could feel more like a funny mishap, some misunderstanding, wrapped up clean, but she always knew. He called. "Elijah?" Her voice was clipped, controlled, the kind of calm that came before a storm. "I'm okay," he said immediately, trying to soften the blow. "It's fine." "What happened?" She pressed. "I was just in the lounge like Miss Taylor told me," he said. "Then this pilot came in, Captain Faulkner, and started accusing me of—" "Captain Gerald Faulkner?" she interrupted. "Yeah, silver hair, uniform, real serious face." There was a long pause. "I'll be there in 20 minutes. "Wait, Mom," I said. "Stay where you are," she said, then hung up. Elijah closed his eyes. He knew that tone. Vanessa Brooks didn't raise her voice. She didn't throw things. She showed up. And when she showed up, people noticed. 20 minutes later, she stepped out of the elevator like a thundercloud in heels. Her navy blue suit hugged her frame like armor. Her expression was unreadable. No anger, just precision. "Elijah," she said, voice soft but sharp. "Are you okay?" He nodded. "Yeah." She touched his arm, just once, then turned toward the hallway. "Where's the lounge?" He led her upstairs. The air shifted the moment she entered. Employees turned. Pilots stood a little straighter. Even the receptionist's fingers paused mid-keystroke. Everyone knew her. The CEO of Horizon Airlines. Elijah followed silently as they reached the lounge. Captain Faulkner was laughing about something with a co-pilot. The moment he turned and saw Vanessa, the color drained from his face. "You," she said, cool as steel, "called security on my son." His jaw slackened. I didn't know." "That's exactly the problem," she cut in. "You didn't know, and you didn't ask. You made a judgment on his skin, on his age, on the assumption that he didn't belong." I was following protocol, he sputtered. No, you followed your bias. And today, you learned who you made that mistake with. The room was silent, eyes everywhere. Vanessa stepped closer. This isn't over. She turned to Elijah. Let's go. And together they walked out, not quietly, not quickly, but with purpose. And Captain Faulkner? He didn't say another word. The next morning, Elijah stepped into school like he was walking into a different country. People stared, not overtly, but the kind that lingers 1 second too long. Whispers trailed him down the hallways. He's the CEO's kid, right? I heard the pilot called the cops on him. Nah, he made the whole thing up, just trying to get attention. He kept his eyes low, his steps steady. Every time someone whispered, every time someone avoided eye contact, it scraped something raw. He hadn't posted anything. His mom hadn't spoken publicly, but somebody, somewhere had leaked it, probably someone at the airport. And once it hit the internet, once the headline "Black Teen Detained in Pilot Lounge for Looking Suspicious," turns out he's the CEO's son, started trending. There was no putting it back in the bottle. By lunchtime, his phone buzzed nonstop. A DM from a student pilot in Atlanta. Man, I saw what happened. Same thing happened to me in ground school. Keep pushing. Another from a girl in California. You being there gave me hope I could be there too. But not every message was kind. Maybe if you didn't look like trouble. Oh, boo-hoo, rich kid wants sympathy. Bet mommy fixed it for you. Must be nice. Elijah shut his phone off. In the cafeteria, his usual table felt too big, too exposed. He sat with his STEM club friends instead. They tried not to bring it up, but finally one of them, Zoe, always bold, leaned in. You good? She asked softly. He hesitated, then nodded. Better than yesterday. She nodded too. What happened to you sucks. But the fact you're still here, that matters. Kinda makes the rest of us feel like we can keep showing up too. He blinked at her. Me? Yeah, you. The kid who almost got kicked out for sitting in a chair. You're the reason this program might actually mean something. He didn't say anything, but for the first time since the incident, he didn't feel completely alone. Back at Horizon HQ, Vanessa Brooks was already 3 steps ahead. Her executive team sat around the long glass table in the 23rd floor boardroom, each with a tablet or laptop in front of them. Her chief of staff, Dana, had just finished reading the internal report. Miss Taylor confirmed that Elijah had a valid badge and was following procedure. The footage shows no inappropriate behavior. Faulkner initiated the confrontation within 90 seconds of entering the lounge. Vanessa didn't blink. Did he ask for ID? No. He called security before engaging Elijah in any meaningful way. The room fell silent. Finally, Alicia Reyes, the new director of Equity and Inclusion, spoke. This isn't the first time. I've had 2 interns come to me this year with similar stories, looked at sideways, asked to explain themselves more than once. Vanessa stood, walking to the wide windows overlooking the runway. We built this company to represent a different future. We said flight belonged to everyone, but we're still letting gatekeepers decide who everyone includes. Dana shifted in her chair. Do you want to go public? Vanessa's eyes hardened. Yes. That night, she sat with Elijah in their living room, the TV silent in the background. You sure you're okay with this? She asked. He nodded slowly. If we stay quiet, it's like saying it didn't matter. Like I didn't matter. Vanessa nodded. Then we do it, together. The next morning, Horizon Airlines social channels posted a statement from Vanessa. Yesterday, my son Elijah Brooks, a participant in our Horizon Futures Youth Program, was wrongfully confronted and detained in our pilot's lounge, despite having full authorization to be there. The issue was not protocol. It was perception. This company will no longer tolerate perception-based policing disguised as professionalism. The post exploded. Support flooded in. Pilots from other airlines posted messages of solidarity. Ground crews shared stories of bias they'd faced in silence, but backlash came just as quickly. A leaked memo from the pilots' union claimed the company was succumbing to political pressure. Anonymous forums called Elijah a diversity stunt. Some called for boycotts. Vanessa read the headlines, the hate, the hashtags. Then she closed her laptop and stood tall. "Let them come," she said. 3 days after the statement went public, Vanessa Brooks stepped onto a stage in Horizon's main auditorium, her navy blazer pressed, her tone unwavering. Elijah sat in the front row, flanked by Captain Amara Lewis and Alicia Reyes. The room was packed. Corporate leadership, pilot unions, ground crew maintenance, marketing, all eyes on her. Live cameras streamed to regional hubs across the country. Vanessa didn't speak from a script. She didn't need one. "Good morning," she began. "Let's not waste time." The room hushed. "Last week, my son Elijah Brooks, age 16, was removed from a pilot's lounge, despite being fully authorized. Why? Because someone didn't think he belonged. Not because of his actions, because of how he looked." She paused, her voice steady but sharper now. This wasn't a mistake in protocol. It was a judgment, a reflex. And it revealed something deeper, a culture we haven't dealt with. One that allows perception to override policy. One that lets bias wear the uniform of authority. Murmurs rippled across the room. "And let's be honest," Vanessa continued. "Elijah only got out of that room without consequence because he's my son. What if he were the son of a baggage handler? A single mom with no title? Would anyone have believed him? Would he have even had a chance to explain himself?" The silence was full. She let it stretch. "We say the sky belongs to everyone. It's time we prove it." Vanessa gestured to the large screen behind her. It flickered to life with a new initiative logo. "Clear skies ahead, the Horizon Equity Initiative." Alicia Reyes stood beside her and began to outline the plan. Mandatory anti-bias training for all Horizon employees, including executives and flight crews. Third-party oversight of all discrimination complaints, with the power to issue disciplinary actions. A new mentorship pipeline for underrepresented youth in aviation, including scholarships, internships, and flight school partnerships. Transparent equity dashboards published quarterly. And most impactful, zero tolerance for retaliation or prejudice under the Horizon Code of Conduct. Applause started small, tentative, then grew, loud, real. Elijah glanced around the room. Some people still looked guarded, especially in the pilot section, but others were clapping with conviction. Some even stood. Change had begun. Backstage, Captain Amara Lewis approached Elijah, her face serious. "You okay, kid?" He nodded. "You?" She smiled faintly. "Been waiting 15 years for a day like this." Elijah wasn't sure how to respond, so he just said the one thing that felt true: "Thank you." "Don't thank me yet," Amara said. "This is just the takeoff. Turbulence is coming." And it did. That same night, pilot forums erupted in protest. Anonymous posts claimed reverse racism, accused Horizon of overcorrecting, and even questioned Elijah's version of events. One particularly loud voice, posted under the name SkyLoyal83, read, "Looks like this airline's future is based on woke PR stunts, not merit. The lounge kid gets special treatment because mommy's the boss? Disgusting." Vanessa saw it. So did Elijah. But this time, they didn't flinch. Because something else had happened too. Emails from aspiring pilots poured into the mentorship program inbox. "I've never seen someone who looks like me in a cockpit until now. My daughter saw Elijah on the news. Now she wants to fly. I thought I didn't belong. Now I'm applying." Momentum was shifting. Vanessa stood in the middle of it all. Press briefings, board meetings, policy workshops, union negotiations. But at night, she still came home to her son. And one evening, as they sat on the back porch watching planes blink across the stars, she turned to him. "You did this," she said. Elijah shook his head. "We did." "No," she insisted. "I built the runway, but you took off." 6 months later, Elijah stood in front of a crowd. Not in an office, not in the HR hallway, but inside Hangar 9, Horizon Airlines' newest training facility. Rows of folding chairs stretched from the engine bay to the simulator doors, filled with wide-eyed teenagers, all part of Horizon's inaugural Future Flight Pathways program. Some wore oversized blazers borrowed from older siblings, some clutched notebooks with trembling hands, but every single one had earned their way there. Elijah adjusted the mic. "Hi," he began, voice echoing gently across the metal interior. "My name is Elijah Brooks. I'm 16. I still want to be a pilot." Laughter rippled through the group, a soft release of nervous energy. He smiled. "Some of you already know my story. Some of you might have been told that I'm here because of who my mom is." He let that sit. "I'm not. I'm here because I showed up. I asked questions. I stayed curious. And when someone tried to tell me I didn't belong, I didn't run. I stayed." Eyes were locked on him now, not just the students, but the mentors lining the hangar's edges. Captains, engineers, dispatchers, all volunteers from across Horizon's staff. "And here's the thing," Elijah continued. "When I was sitting in that pilot's lounge, terrified, embarrassed, angry, I thought maybe I wasn't cut out for this. That maybe dreaming big was just another setup." He scanned the room. "But then I realized, it's not the dream that's broken. It's the gatekeepers who can't imagine someone like you or me holding the keys." The students leaned forward. "So today I want to say this. You belong. Not because someone gave you permission. Not because you have a connection. You belong because you showed up, because you care, because this world needs people like you in its cockpit." Applause built again, real and resonant. Behind the crowd, Vanessa watched with her hand covering her mouth, trying to hide the emotion rising in her throat. Beside her, Captain Amara Lewis whispered, "He doesn't just want to fly, he's already leading." Later that afternoon, Elijah walked the tarmac with a girl named Jordan, a 14-year-old from Atlanta who had arrived in a too-big windbreaker and sneakers with worn soles. She kept sneaking glances at the jets. "You like the A320 or the 737 better?" Elijah asked casually. Jordan blinked. "You mean I get to pick?" He grinned. "You will." She hesitated. "My big brother always said stuff like this. Being a pilot, being up there, it's not for people like us." Elijah stopped walking. "You ever been on a plane?" he asked. She shook her head. He pointed up at one preparing for takeoff. "Next time you are, look out the window just before the wheels leave the ground. You'll see how small everything gets. The houses, the highways, even the walls people build between who they think matters and who they think doesn't." Jordan watched the plane roar past. "That's what flying does," he said. "It shows you who's afraid to rise and who's already climbing." She nodded slowly, something shifting in her face. By evening, the first class of Future Flight Pathways received their official Horizon access lanyards. No one questioned their presence this time. No one called security. No one raised an eyebrow. Instead, a banner hung above the exit. "The sky doesn't have a color, it has room." That same week, Vanessa received an invitation from the Department of Transportation, a request to consult on nationwide aviation equity reform. 2 major airlines reached out for guidance on implementing Horizon's mentorship and anti-bias model. She didn't gloat. She just nodded and got to work. Meanwhile, Captain Rebecca Whitman's wrongful termination suit was dismissed with prejudice. The court ruled that Horizon's actions were not only justified, they set a precedent. One journalist described it as a pivotal moment in aviation history. Not because someone was punished, but because an industry took a hard look at itself and chose a different flight path. A few weeks later, Elijah was invited back to the original lounge where everything began. This time, he walked in wearing a Horizon Youth Aviator jacket. Every head in the room turned. Some nodded, some clapped, some simply watched with quiet respect. Captain Amara met him at the door. "Let's show you the flight deck again," she said, handing him the simulator keys. Elijah paused, looked around at the lounge that once felt cold and hostile, now filled with potential. Then he turned to Amara. "Let's do more than that," he said. "Let's open the door." What is lesson of this story? 1. Assumptions are loud, but truth is louder. Elijah didn't need to scream, he needed the truth. And when he finally shared it, the world listened. 2. Bias wears a uniform too. Authority doesn't always equal justice. This story reminds us that even respected roles like pilots can be weaponized when unconscious bias takes control. 3. Change doesn't start with policies, it starts with people. Vanessa Brooks didn't just issue a statement, she rewrote the script, setting an example for leaders everywhere to turn moments into movements. And 4. You don't need permission to belong. Elijah's worth wasn't in his badge or his last name. It was in the way he showed up, stood tall, and told the truth. That's real belonging. What do you think about this story? Let's comment below to discuss. And don't forget to subscribe our channel to listen to more interesting stories.